All right, and we are recording.
Yeah, we've had quite the day today already, I would say.
A memorable experience.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's going to continue for the rest of the day.
Yeah, I still can't believe you talked me into this day. Seriously. I pulled up the schedule just to make sure what time I was coming in, and I turned to my wife, I'm like, this guy expects me to work all day. Like this is a job or something like that.
I know, like you're getting paid.
It's like we should have named this like Hours with Eric and
Yeah.
Sherrod.
Yeah, exactly, because it is literally going to be hours. That's okay. I'm not mad. I'm just hurt.
You're furious, aren't you?
I'm super ticked.
Anyway.
Welcome to 7 Points, a podcast produced by the Arizona Department of Public Safety, where we talk to different individuals who make our department so great. Whether a state trooper or civilian support staff, every employee has a unique story and path they took to get here. 7 Points asks guests 7 specific questions to give listeners insight into what it means to work here and to be a part of the law enforcement family.
Well, welcome back to everyone who's listening and viewing here at 7 Points, podcast produced by the Arizona Department of Public Safety, Public Affairs Unit. Today, we have another fantastic guest we're all excited about, Trooper Brandon Hainke. And that, I pronounced that correctly, right?
You got it, Hainke,
okay.
Yeah.
So the first thing we like to do is read off your dating profile questions that we asked you. So
Let's hear it.
Brandon here has worked for DPS since 2006, so 18 years. So just like some of our other guests, you're getting close to that off probation time right there.
Then I got the department on probation.
Exactly.
After that,
Yeah.
His favorite food is steak, not just steak from Ruth's Chris Steakhouse.
It's got to be it's perfect every single time you go there. So
I would agree. Yeah, that is
There you
true.
go.
I've never had a bad steak
You
there,
can't
so
go
that's
wrong.
why I
Can't go wrong.
have to specify Ruth's Chris.
Right.
If
Have you
I'm
tried
not
some of the
making it
other
myself.
high-end steakhouses?
Yeah, I've been to Donovan's, and they're all great. They're good, but it's like if you go for your everyday steak, your everyday family lunch or whatever, you go to Texas Roadhouse. Texas Roadhouse,
Yeah.
I've gone there, and I've never had a bad steak at Texas Roadhouse. It's good every time.
Right.
Yeah.
But you take Ruth's Chris, and it's just leveled up to
Right.
that next level of steak, and it's good every single time. So that's why I just specified that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Favorite movie, Top Gun, the original.
The original.
Yeah.
Which we
Yeah.
specified with another guest. It was also their favorite movie, the original, not Maverick. So.
Oh, they got good taste. Maverick was good,
Absolutely.
but the original was really good.
original.
I really liked it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we made our kids watch the original one before we were letting them go. You're not gonna watch Maverick before you watch the
absolutely.
original.
Right.
Yeah.
You
Same
gotta watch
thing,
the
for
original
sure.
first. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Favorite sport to watch is college basketball. Who's your team?
Kansas.
Kansas.
That's where I'm from. So, yeah, Kansas basketball. I've got a lot of things that I like to watch. I really like watching the NFL. I love college football, too. But if I have one team, it's Kansas basketball. So I've been a
The
Jayhawk since I was a
Jayhawks.
kid. Yeah.
Yep.
There you go.
Number one in the polls. It just came out yesterday.
Did it really? Okay.
Yep.
And all
For
right.
this year.
We're
Yeah.
just going to start out flexing just right out the gate.
Right.
Just
exactly.
saying, yeah. I mean,
Exactly.
hey, you know what, though? I really don't like that because, then everyone's running a gun
That's
for you.
true.
You know,
Target.
kids storm courts and stuff when you lose. It sucks.
Yeah.
So,
Take down goal posts.
well, KU football doesn't have that problem.
It's true.
So, but neither does ASU. I don't know if there's any ASU fans out there.
Say
so.
we're not used to number one basketball teams in Arizona
Right.
generally, so I mean,
U of A's pretty good.
Yeah,
Good.
U of A has.
U of A is always
Yeah, the
competitive.
Wildcats aren't too bad.
Yeah,
But
U
we
of A
don't
has
talk
always
about
been
them,
competitive.
see, I'm a Lope. GCU Lopes
Yeah.
up, so
Although you guys, they did
Hey,
pretty
we
well
made
in the
it. We
tournament.
made it. Yeah,
the
that's what I
tournament.
mean. You
Yeah,
went to
yeah.
the
Yeah, you
the
made it to
tourney.
the tournament.
Yeah.
GCU is one of the most fun arenas to go to
Oh
in
my
all of
gosh,
college
that's
basketball.
freaking
It's
awesome.
unreal.
Fun.
That is
Yeah.
awesome.
Who
Yes.
came out here a few years ago? Was it either Duke? I didn't know it was Kentucky.
yeah.
Kentucky came out,
Right.
and they were saying that arena, out of all the places they play, North Carolina,
Right.
Kansas, all of Michigan, they came out to Grand Canyon, and it was one of the most wild arenas that they'd ever been in.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I went to just like a normal game, not a big game or anything, and it was insane. I went to school there. We didn't have any of that stuff when I went there, but it
Right.
was insane, absolutely insane.
Yeah, I got to check the schedule. I got to maybe hit a game or two.
Yeah.
Oh, if you've never been to a Grand
Yeah.
Canyon basketball game, it's wild.
yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
That's good.
And
We
then,
need that kind of culture here.
Your favorite thing to do on your off time, hobbies, whatever. You said used to be playing basketball, and now coaching your kids' football and basketball teams.
Yeah.
And I know I see you all the time up there coaching stuff. So
It's fun. Yeah, it's a good time. I still play basketball here and there a few times a week, but Friday nights, man, I look forward to coaching our kids' football teams every Friday. That's the most fun thing that I look forward to in a week, every week, week in and week out. It's a blast. So
I had to get you on the court. I played myself, so I had to get you on
awesome,
the court. Yeah.
awesome.
Man,
I
we'll
used
get-
to be all right. Now I'm.
We'll get the Colonel. We'll get
Yeah.
Captain Map. We'll get you.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be a whole thing.
I used to play with Tony.
I believe it.
We didn't play. We would go to either the Suns games or whatever. Him, John Barcelo. We used
Yep.
to go to
Yeah.
different games and
He's
do
still
like
got
halftime stuff.
Yeah.
Like competitions
Oh,
at
yeah,
halftime
yeah, yeah.
and stuff like that. Yeah. So.
He's still got his season tickets. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah.
He has
I
to
see
send
him.
me a picture every game.
Oh, I
Look where
see
am.
Tony Map. Yeah. He's. Yep.
Now
see him
I
on
will
there all the
say,
time.
like just your ambiance, your appearance, state trooper.
Does
I love it, and that's a compliment, by the way.
I appreciate
I
that.
mean,
Really.
like when you walk in a room, I'm like, that is a state trooper right there. I would not want to be caught speeding by this man. You know what I mean?
That's crazy because I don't even write. I have to call somebody to find out how I write a speeding ticket.
You don't have to say anything.
I know, but that's weird. That's weird because 20 years ago, if you'd have told my friends in high school, like, I'm going to be a state trooper,
Oh, that's me.
I
all
would
the
have
way.
never. They would have been like, "You're out of your mind. There's no way."
My friends
Man.
say the same thing about me all the time. Like, you're a cop? I'm like, we broke laws with you. What are you talking about?
Right?
No,
Like they let you in?
I know.
Exactly. They even did a background investigation. I promise.
Either they didn't catch you, or
Yeah.
you squeaked through one way or another.
Again, we don't
Whatever.
tell all of our secrets here.
No, speaking in generalities, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. No.
So, Brandon, as we kind of explained to our guests, and like we talked beforehand, we ask all of our guests these same 7 questions to learn
Sure.
about you and your experience here at DPS, but also so that you can share your experiences and just information about the agency, so that people who may be interested in coming here, interested in being a state trooper, can go, oh, I didn't even know they had that. So,
Sure.
especially for you who's in a specialty position and a highly desired specialty position of this agency. We thought it was important to talk to you and to somebody from K9s because what you guys do is huge here. So,
I appreciate that. I enjoy it. So appreciate it.
so let's get started. First question: give us a history of Trooper Hainke and where you came from. What'd you do before DPS?
So before DPS, I started here when I was 23. I had just turned 23 years old in 2006. And before that, I grew up in Kansas. So I'm from there originally. I was born in Russell, Kansas, and then raised in Wichita, Kansas. Went to college at Wichita State University in Kansas and was getting my degree in business management. And throughout my degree, I was taking elective classes, and as an elective, I took a criminal justice class, and I went on a ride-along with some city cops back there during this class, and then I went on a ride-along with the state trooper, and within a couple hours, I couldn't tell you his last name, but his first name's Dale. And at the time, he had about 7 years on with the Kansas Highway Patrol, and I pretty quickly knew that that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
So I was working for my dad. My dad was an agent for the cell phone company Altel, which was eventually bought out by Verizon. But he was an agent. So I was managing one of his stores as I was going through college. And that's how I actually met this guy. He came in as a state trooper, and he was off duty, of course, right, when he came in. But, no, I met him there and went on a ride-along with him and immediately knew that's what I wanted to do. So I was going to go down the business path of either starting my own business or, getting into corporate America or whatever I was going to do. But when I went on this ride-along with this guy,
That was a spark.
it changed. Yeah,
Yeah,
like, man, I knew right away that's what I wanted to do.
So what was that experience like now that you've been with DPS for a while? Kansas versus DPS. How was it different in Kansas than here?
So Kansas Highway Patrol is Kansas Highway Patrol. They still have a SWAT team. They have K9s. They have drug interdiction stuff like we do here. But it's mainly, and it may have changed since. I mean, this is back in 2004, 2005, so 20 years ago. But really, so I don't know now what the differences are, but it's kind of crazy. So I'll just kind of lead into what led me out here. It was kind of just generic. I applied with Kansas Highway Patrol Oklahoma, Highway Patrol, Texas DPS, and Arizona. And primarily Arizona because I grew up in the Midwest in Kansas. I was tired of the rain, hated the cold, didn't mind the heat. I like big cities. I like sports. So I wanted to go to a sports town that had a sports team. And so that's kind of what led me into Arizona versus Kansas. So, and then I got hired on out here first. That's literally how I ended up out here. It's just I was in the process with those other agencies, and Arizona called first. Terry Avila with Human Resources here called and said, "Hey, do you want to come out and we can get you out here next month?" And in July of 2006, and started the process there.
Timed it perfectly too, by the way, to get hired here, because it was right after that everything kind of froze because the economy kind of tanked and.
Oh, yeah, in 2009, I didn't know. I remember I had just gotten married in 2008 and got married in 2008, and then in 2009, we're like, the economy tanks. We had just bought our first house. We didn't have any kids yet, but man, I'm like, I don't even know if I'm going to have a job. That's part of the reason, in all reality, that's part of the reason I became a cop, like secure job, pension, all that stuff. It plays a little role into it all, right? And, so I'm like, I don't know. I'm 2 years in here, and I don't know if I'm going to have a job in the next 6 months.
Yeah, that was impeccable timing.
It was crazy. Yeah. Crazy.
So, well, I guess you explained why you chose DPS there, and they were the first to hire you. What roles have you had at DPS? Kind of walk us down your path here at DPS.
Yeah. So, law enforcement in general, I get into the academy, and I chose to be a cop. I loved going on that ride along with that state trooper, but I still, even then, I got into the academy and I didn't even know that law enforcement was a dangerous thing. It never really even occurred to me. I was that naive. It was bad. Like, I go into the academy and they've got me thinking like, man, everyone's out to kill you and that you need to be on your toes 24/7. And I'm like, what is going on? Where did I just wanted to drive. I just wanted to drive fast and pull people over. And I love driving cars and driving fast. And I had sports cars growing up, and I had no idea. So I get through the academy, and I'm in our post academy, and I'm listening to a guy show a video and speak about a traffic stop up on I-40, where he's having an everyday conversation with somebody like we are here. And lo and behold, this middle-aged white guy's got like 100 pounds of weed in the trunk of this car, and he figures it out and arrests the guy. And I thought to myself, like, man, I had no idea that pocket of law enforcement even existed. But at that moment, I knew, like, I want to go do that someday. Because that's cool. That's not writing a speeding ticket. That's not, I love DUIs. Nothing wrong with guys that write speeding tickets for our department or any other job that you might have in law enforcement.
It's part of the job.
But it is, absolutely. But I thought that was like just the coolest thing. And I thought to myself, like, I think I have the personality. I think I have the interpersonal skills to be able to possibly someday do that.
Right.
Well, that was in 2006. I get out of the academy and I go, I thought you told me to put my phone on silent.
I think somebody said that.
I had it on silent. That's my
man. If only there was a sergeant here, you know what I mean, to reel this. Oh, wait, that's you.
Oh man,
You want to transfer to the PA?
Yeah, they got an
I'm
opening.
just gonna walk.
Follow simple instructions. So I get out of the academy and I get assigned to Central Graveyards in Central Phoenix. And I was there from beginning of 2007 until 2014. So had you told me before I got hired that for pretty much the next 8 years you're going to be assigned to Central Graves, and oh, by the way, 6 of those 8 years you're not going to be able to leave even if you want to.
Yeah, even if you want to.
Because of what we were talking about. We stopped hiring for a number of years. All of that happened. And so everybody was where you were at, and hope you liked it because you weren't moving.
Yeah.
And I loved it. Yeah. Loved it for that amount of time, for 8 years.
I mean, it was actually.
I absolutely loved it. And so I worked on Central Graves for 8 years, got really good at DUIs, never minded doing them, still to this day don't. I don't mind doing them at all. Got really good at doing that, got really good at understanding what criminal behavior was, what deceptive behavior was. And that really kind of led me down the path of being able to be successful at the position that I'm in now. But anyways, in 2014, I we had our first kid in 2012. So 2012 to 2014 was a little more rough because for 6 years on graveyards, I just lived at night.
Yeah.
So when we had kids, though, I couldn't do that anymore. My wife works. She actually does social media for Phoenix PD.
Oh, that's right. I remember we talked
So
about
no
Yeah.
pressure.
Yeah, right? So
it.
she does their social media stuff. So
So this better
at the
be
time,
good.
though, she was a dispatcher. So she was working day shift. I was working graveyards, but now we have a baby at home. And so it made that dynamic a little bit hard for me to just stay up in the middle of the night 7 days a week like I had been, which was why she worked during the day. I worked at night. That's why we didn't have kids for 6 years.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Works out perfect.
Not happening.
Right.
Birth
You
control.
don't see each other.
Right.
So, anyways, I went to day shift in 2015, was there for a year, or 2014, was there for a year. Enjoyed it. It was good. That was the first time I got to like write a HOV speeding ticket or HOV ticket. So I thought that was kind of neat. So I got in a wreck trying to do it. 'Cause I'm in the number 1 lane watching the HOV lane behind me and
Yep.
traffic comes to
Oh,
a stop.
yeah.
And,
I remember those.
oh, yeah. It was horrible.
Easiest ticket, though, in the world.
Oh, it is. It is.
And I won't explain why, because then somebody will get the hint, and they'll know how to get around it.
Yeah. I won't give away your secrets here, but I think I know the road you're going down. But yeah, I was there for a year, and then I never lost sight of wanting to go to K9s.
Yeah.
Our K9 unit was, as I described that traffic stop, it's a K9 unit. We have dogs, but the majority of it is criminal interdiction. So being able to locate and apprehend drug smugglers and major criminal offenders is kind of our mission statement. And that was what I always wanted to do. So for 10 years, I never lost sight of that, but I started to kind of almost give up hope that, man, because the guys that were getting into K9s were guys in outlying areas, guys that worked up in Flagstaff. Casa Grande was a real big hotspot back then. And in Central Phoenix, that's just in the middle of the night. That's just not what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Sure, it's here. I mean, but you're looking for a needle in a haystack even out in the boondocks. Whether, finding it in Central Phoenix just was next to impossible. And so anyways, I after day shift, some guys took a chance on me and put me in a position to where I was able to go to our commercial vehicle interdiction unit. And with that, it gave me the freedom to be able to work outside the city and kind of just go and explore this and figure this out on my own. But I also, on my days off, I went and rode along with guys, experienced interdictors, guys like Marty Sigmund. He no longer works here anymore, but Damon Cecil, Marty Sigmund, guys that had experience in that and kind of took me under their wing and just showed me the ropes of it. So I was there and in commercial vehicles and never hit a load in a truck, but I was able to snag a couple in passenger cars at the time and afforded me the opportunity to at least test for canines because I tested a couple times to come to dogs and they almost just kind of laughed at me like your resume is just like you don't have you're testing against guys that have got 40, 50, 60 loads under their belt and you've got 2 and they're kind of loads of dope, not really even.
Yeah.
And so I just didn't have the resume throughout the first 10 years of my career to even give myself a chance. And eventually made it over to K9s in 2016 after being on that commercial vehicle interdiction squad for about a year. And been here since. So 2016 till now, I've been in K9s, and it's been awesome. I love it. It's my favorite job. I feel like I literally kind of just go hunting every day.
Yeah.
It's I love to hunt, but work, I feel like they give us the freedom to go out and work where we want, when we want, in a position on a highway that you can be the most successful. If the hours that you're working aren't working, they give you the opportunity and flexibility to change it up to go. You can go out at 3 a.m. on a Saturday. If Tuesday through Friday isn't working from 7 to 5, you can go out. If you want to go work nights, you can go work nights. If you want to go work weekends, you can go work weekends. If you want to go work a different highway, you can go work a different highway.
Yeah.
They give us a lot of freedom to go and be successful with that. And then obviously there's the dog part of it too. So
Yeah. I love hearing these stories because I think and Eric and I have talked about it ad nauseum now, especially doing these episodes, but how we got into the niche that we wanted to get into and how it was just always on our mind. And we joke guys like you and like me joke about, oh, we don't like writing tickets or whatever. And yeah, civil traffic, again, part of the job. You got to go out there and
100%.
educate the public and keep, that portion as safe as we can, which is a tall task because we don't have enough troopers to start with. So, all that is in there. But what really drives a person, and I had the same experience, I did not want to just go out, take collisions, and write speeding tickets all day.
Right.
There's a portion of that job that I accepted and enjoyed, but ultimately it was like, I want to catch the real bad people that need to be in prison, that need to be held accountable for what they're doing, and the maturation of how you get to that. And it's not as easy, just like you said, you're in a great place for arresting people, Central
Sure.
Phoenix. You're going to interact with a ton of criminals,
Absolutely.
but it's not the interactions you want to get. So I guess where I'm going with this is, and we'll probably say this in a lot of episodes, but to the young troop out there, you got to be patient, you got to be diligent, you just got to keep working towards what you want to work towards.
Yeah, it's hard, right? Because you have something in the back of your mind, but then it might take years to get there.
Absolutely.
And we live in a culture that is I mean,
Right
these
now.
things,
right
everything,
now.
anything and everything is right here, right now. And so that waiting game it can be tough, but
It's about the process.
it is.
And I love that you threw in, you went on your days off, you're out riding along with, experienced guys. It's something that we're missing. Like I said, it's a cultural thing. You've got to. So I worked for Bank One back when it was Bank One, and I was a little teller, and I had all these dreams and aspirations of being a banker or whatever. And one of my trainers gave me the best advice I've ever had, and that was, hey, at some point you might have to take a demotion to get a promotion.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what that meant.
Right.
But basically, what you're saying is, hey, I'm going to have to sacrifice something if I'm going to get to the next level. So
Yeah.
I love hearing stuff like that. But
Yeah, I mean, be it right or wrong, is there a facet of it's not, what it's who you know. But in specialty units, special investigations, narcotics, SWAT, K9s, any of those units, is there a pocket of like they want to make sure that that everything's going to gel, that things are going to jive when you get there. Are you going to fit in? Are you going to be an asset to their team? Are you all about you, or are you all about a team? There's things to that. So are you going to put in the extra work? Are you going to, do everything you need to do to make the team successful? And so yeah, was it the most fun? No, but it was what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Did I enjoy going in on my days off? In a way, yeah, because I was going to go do something that it was a step towards the ultimate goal, which was making it here. So it was
absolutely. So I think, we just keep on covering these questions here without asking them. But
Right.
What's your favorite part about DPS?
I'm in the unit.
Right? I knew you were
Yeah.
going to say that.
I love K9s. I love everything that we do. But DPS as a whole, I like that there's all kinds of, and it's not just like the correct thing to say for this question, but the fact that it's like a state police agency. There's so many different things that you can do here. There's helicopters. There's if you want to go to a bomb squad, we have that. We have you want to investigate highly technical crashes, you can go to VCU. Vehicular crimes and investigate people and put people away for murder. There's all kinds of different things, and it's not to take away from people who go out, the troopers that just go out and write speeding tickets day in and day out and investigate collisions.
Yeah, it's an important part of the job.
Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. That we have 20, 25-year guys that are highly skilled and great, smart people that go out and do that day in and day out. So it doesn't take anything away from any other unit in our department. So it's one thing I really, really love about DPS specifically as compared to any other agency almost in the state or any state police agency is that we're proactive rather than reactive. Most of it, yes, we respond to crashes. Yes, if you're in an outlying area, you respond to all kinds of different stuff, but we have the time to go out and be proactive in policing. That was the main thing, one of the things, going back to one of your first questions, that what drew you to DPS was that we get to be proactive. I get to go out and put people in jail, put bad people in jail, rather than just responding to calls and not really having a say in where I go or what I'm doing all day long. So that to me is a huge thing for our agency that I love. That's what separates DPS to me from any other agency in this state.
I agree.
Or any other state police agency from any other county or city agency in any state in America. So,
being a civilian, not sworn here, I'm a dog lover. Love dogs. And whenever I see one of our canines, for a split second, I want to go up and pet it. Then I think otherwise, quickly.
I mean, you got a 50-50 chance, right?
I know, right? I was like, nah, I kind of need my hand, I need my arm. I kind of need that.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of people's reaction. As a matter of fact, there's some folks outside here that when I walked in, that was the first thing they said. Did you bring your dog in? I'm like, no. It'd be a little bit of a distraction for what we're getting ready to go do. I mean, yeah, he could be in here, but
you mean he wouldn't just sit on a chair next to you the entire time? It'd be perfect.
No,
Answer some questions.
Right.
Why are you a DPS? Well, I was purchased, so.
Yeah, I didn't exactly have a choice in this matter. Someone brought me over on a plane from Europe one day.
He's like, I wanted to go to Phoenix PD, actually, but.
Probably.
So tell us about your dog, though. Being a canine handler, you have a partner with you at all times. So tell us about that.
So I'm working my second dog. My first dog's name was Pete. And when I worked him from 2016 until 2020. And then we went through a period of time with marijuana, right, where we had a bunch of dogs that were trained on marijuana. And so we made the decision as a unit, or the powers that be in our unit made the decision that those dogs we couldn't have them anymore. While marijuana is legal in some capacities now up to certain amounts, the dogs themselves, you're essentially, those dogs are trained to alert on a odor that's now legal to an extent. So we did away with all of those dogs, retired all of them, and I had the opportunity to keep Pete. And I knew I didn't want to leave K9, so I was going to get another dog, and having a Malinois at home that was going to be, a house pet, but he was only 6.5 years old, so he wasn't necessarily ready to retire yet.
Yeah.
Made the responsible decision. I felt like it was sad for our family to watch him leave, but he went to a retired cop for us. His name's Rick. He's with his family now. I've seen him a couple times since he's retired. Still doing well, and just getting older, gray snout. And in 2020, I got the dog that I've got now. His name's Civil, and he's now 5 years old. He came from the Czech Republic. And a little bit about the dog training. So my first dog was German commands, came over. He was about 2.5 years old when I got him, and he had a bunch of training already invested into him. They don't know anything about the narcotics, but we train all of that in-house. But he had a lot of obedience work that was already put into him. So when I got him, I'm new. I'm an idiot. I don't know anything. And he was just a very push-button dog, very easy dog for me to learn on.
Yeah.
And then I get Civil in 2020, so I've been in the unit for a few years. Learned a little bit about training. Learned a little bit about dog training and the timing of things and how to, just train the dogs and make correct problems, create new problems, fix that one. It creates another issue. You got to fix that. And then it seems like right when you've got everything right where you want it to be, then it's time for the dog to retire. But in 2020, I get Civil, and they tell me he's from the Czech Republic. So I go out on the canine field with him, and I'm talking to him. And the German and Dutch commands for dogs are similar. And then Czech is like way out in left field. So like sit in German or Dutch is just seats. And then in Czech, it's sadni. To get the dog to lay down in German or Dutch is either off or Platz. Just simple commands. In Czech, laying down is called lakni. And so it's the commands are just in left field. But I knew them from training other dogs and being around other dogs that were from the Czech Republic. So I knew the commands. But I get this dog, and I'm taking him out on the canine field, and I'm talking to him and walking around, and I give him a command and a correction and trying to get him to sit, and he just looks up at me like, "What did you say?" And I mean, so okay, maybe you just don't know that command. So we'll try the off command. So walk in and lock me. And he's looking up at me and like, you're supposed to lay down now, dude. And he doesn't. So I quickly figure out that this dog knows zero. Absolutely nothing. So it's a challenge for me because I'm not a dog trainer.
Right.
I'm a handler, but I'm not a trainer. But I've grown a lot with this dog, and the experiences that I had with Pete and the training that I got with him really helped me to mold this dog into what he is. And so he's a 5-year-old Mal now. He's a harder dog than my first one was, a lot more dog than Pete was, but a great dog. He's awesome. What that also gave me the opportunity to do though was I changed his commands. So check is out in the left field. So I still have a couple check commands for him.
Yeah.
But he didn't know anything, so I've got a clean slate.
Right.
And so I trained him a lot in German, and still use to let go, biting or holding a toy or whatever. I still use the check command for that, but everything else is in German. So it was what I knew, and timing is everything with these dogs, and so I kept a lot of the German commands. So I didn't mess it up.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, but he's a narcotics dog and a patrol dog, so he's trained on the odors of cocaine, heroin, meth, and fentanyl, and then also a patrol dog too. So all the obedience, the bite work, all that stuff goes into him. So, and those dogs are just like anything else, right? So the dogs are as good as the amount of time that you put into them. So if you just like sports or this job or whatever it is that you're working towards, if you don't put any time into it, they're not going to be any good when you actually need to put those skills to use. So they're good. So the amount of, a little bit here and there every day, 5 minutes a day of just doing something, really keeps those dogs on as sharp as a knife's edge. They're pretty good.
Sweet.
It's awesome.
So how does the K9 unit at DPS compare with other agencies around, whether it's Phoenix PD, MCSO? What kind of explain the differences and similarities between those?
So some of the differences is that our K9 unit is primarily narcotics based, right? Yes, we have dogs. They're all Malinois for the most part. We have a couple shepherds. I guess I didn't say that when you were asking about him. He's a Belgian Malinois.
Okay.
Okay. So we have a couple German shepherds still in the unit. There's some old school guys that still like working 100-pound German shepherds, 110-pound German shepherds. But for the most part, we have Malinois. But being an interdiction unit primarily, the narcotics side of those dogs is 90% of what we're doing, 95% of what we're doing. The patrol side of it, it's a necessary component of what we're training those dogs to do and what we need them for on a day-to-day basis, being out there on the road. But being in an outlying area, we don't utilize that patrol capability a whole lot. It has to kind of be the perfect storm for us to be in the right spot at the right time with the right set of circumstances in an event for us to be able to. We just can't just go send a dog to bite anybody.
Right.
There's got to be there's got to be some criteria that have to be met. I'm not going to give away all the secrets on what that is. I'll let that be a surprise for folks out there. But,
surprise.
Yeah, right. But whereas Phoenix PD, MCSO, Glendale PD, Mesa, city agencies primarily, they're using the dogs a lot more for patrol capabilities, for patrol capacities. The narcotics component's there still, but we take a lot of pride in that narcotics program that we put on, and we have a lot of other agencies come through our narcotics program to make sure the dogs are really on odor. Because back when I was on graveyards with Phoenix PD, there'd be certain situations where I would need a dog to go to do a sniff around a car, and I remember one time specifically the handler got there and he told me, like, listen, man, my dog's not going to alert on a car. Like, he's a narcotics dog, but he's a bite dog. That's primarily what we use them for. Like, and I watched a bunch of Phoenix PD dogs tear holes in people.
Wow, I bet.
Really, really get after it. So, but the narcotics component for them isn't nearly as big as it is for us. So, being an interdiction unit, finding large amounts of narcotics, that being our primary job, we use them for narcotics a lot. So that's one of the main differences between us and city agencies or county agencies. They're taking a lot more time and effort into the patrol capacity of it.
I remember having a very similar situation because I think I replaced you on the Charles 310s when
remember
you went
that.
to Days and I was just coming over from Avondale.
Yeah.
And I remember there was one night where we had a vehicle. We knew there was dope in it. We just didn't know where it was. So we had Phoenix come out with a dog because DPS canines don't generally work graves in Metro.
Right.
And the Phoenix guy came out, and it was the handler that was like, hey, this probably isn't going to happen. We're not great narc dogs. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, good to know. So
Yeah, I mean, they're certified in narcotics, but
Right.
it's just not their bread and butter. It's not what they're doing.
yeah,
So.
he's like, hey, if he takes off, we'll get that, no problem. But we're probably not gonna get this. And I don't think I can't remember, but I don't think the dog hit on it. But they've got their good niche there for their patrol dogs. But yeah, it was very similar as
Yeah.
what you were explaining there. So
And they're great at it. I mean,
Yeah.
Phoenix
Oh, yeah.
PDs, they're on
Well,
point with that stuff.
that's what I was going to say. It's not necessarily derogatory against
Absolutely.
their dogs. It's just
Right.
they have a different focus that they need to have. They need to have that patrol dog ready to go all the time.
Right.
Whereas for us, our unit, to your point, is built for a lot of proactive work in interdicting drug loads and stuff like that. So
Yeah, yeah. We get crap all the time because, like, oh, you guys are always training. You guys are never around when we need you. And it's like, well, we're outside the city most of the time. So
Yeah.
by the time we get to, if one of our guys needs us for a call, and we're 45 minutes away, well, a Phoenix PD K9 could be there in 5 minutes, or Glendale PD K9 or Mesa PD or wherever you're at. They can be there a lot.
Yeah, and there's a lot
more.
of trade secret involved in that too, by the way.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, right.
intricacies of interdiction. So
Yeah, that's a whole. We could spend a lot of time talking about that. That's
But to that point, though, and not obviously giving away trade secrets, but talk about how, because, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys also train a lot of our agency, just our standard patrol guys, in interdiction stops and what to be looking for and that kind of stuff, too.
We do. We put on a week-long program that it's held down in Casa Grande, where we teach guys the roadside interview portion of it, the criminal vehicle indicators portion of it, how to properly search a car. We actually have cars with compartments in them that are there that we've seized, and let our guys go and search them to learn, the different, if you think of a car as a cube, and how to properly search all these different natural voids, but then also potential constructed compartments that can be manufactured into a car that you're looking at something and it looks 100% legitimate, like a truck bed. But what you don't know is that there's a bed under that bed, and there's a 3-inch void there that what you're looking at the top of a truck bed, but there's a void there where there's 150 pounds of meth under that truck bed.
great
So
class, by the way.
It's unbelievable, and it really kind of opens. You kind of see the eyes open for guys as they're going through that school. It's pretty cool,
Especially for guys that have a natural ability to just have a conversation with somebody, but at the same time be paying attention to. This is why I tell my kids all the time when they're lying to me, and they do. I'm like, hey, there are certain words that when someone's lying, they say.
Yeah.
There are certain body language that when someone's lying, they do. And as long as you're able to carry on a conversation with somebody and taking notes of when you see and hear these things, I'm like, you can be excellent at criminal interdiction in all different forms. So.
Oh yeah. It's dynamic, right? There's a lot of things going on, and you've got to be able to quickly decipher what lies are being told, how they're being told, what their demeanor is. What are they lying about? Are they lying about the right things for this to be narcotics, or are they just really nervous because they've got a warrant for their arrest, so they've got a suspended driver's license? Like, what is it? So there's the dynamics of what you've got to be paying attention to all at one time, deciphering this stuff in real time while staying within the boundaries of case law and what you're able to do, how long you're able to hold somebody during a traffic stop. It's a lot, and it can be overwhelming. But in that class, being able to kind of sit back, Monday morning quarterback, these videos, I teach a portion of it where we're able to teach the class the roadside interview portion of it, and we're able to sit back and go through these things and really break them down for people to make it not seem so overwhelming. So,
It slows it down.
It does.
A lot. That's why I say it's a great class. I've taken it. It's helped me in my other endeavors in this department, just as a detective and things like that, because you pick up on these things. And it's just like in sports, right? What do they say when college guys get drafted number one? They end up in the NFL and they're like, oh man, the game is so much faster.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's until you get enough rhythm and you watch and you get your coaching and okay, it slows back down. I can see the safeties coming down. Okay, you know, this is my mic. You know, all that other stuff.
Yeah.
And so that class, to me at least, really helped me slow it down.
It does.
So it was a great class. So.
So how about this? Since you've already told us your dream role is right where you're at right now, that's normally what we would ask people. But if you could do anything else in this agency, like you said, there's so many opportunities. What else would you like to do if you had the opportunity?
Are you recording?
I'm pretty sure the battery just died on the camera because it went from 60 to 0 in 30 minutes for some reason.
perfect.
So we'll just continue the conversation here. So what would your dream role be?
So it's not recording? Or
No, we can get as
Audio.
crazy. Yeah,
The audio
the
is.
audio's
but-
not
Okay. All right. Man, this sounds like such a cliche thing, but it really is truly where my heart's at. There have been a lot of people that have poured into me throughout my career. The Tom Simons, Brian Bond, Jason Christie down at the academy right now, supervisors that I've had over the years that I've been here, Anthony Girard, and now my current supervisor, Casey Kassoon. These guys have really poured into me and kind of made me who I am. Tom Simon especially to start my career off and teach me the ins and outs, the right way to investigate things, not to just get there fast, do a crappy job, and on to the next, as he would say, with a different word in there. But those guys really poured into me, and I feel like at some point I would like to promote and give that back to new guys, and I feel a responsibility to do that at some point. So ideally, I would like to be a supervisor in K9s, but K9s is full of a bunch of guys that have been around a long time that are kind of set in their ways, and they made it here because they already kind of know how to do that job. So the most impact that I would probably have is going back to Central Graves and being able to pour into guys that have just come out of the academy and teaching them those things that were taught to me. But in the long term, at some point, I would like to make it back to K9s as a supervisor at some point, and maybe that happens, maybe it doesn't. I don't care. I love the role that I'm in now. I could do it for the next 10 years. Like I've said, I don't work a day in my life. I go out and I go hunting every day. It's a blast. So I love what I do, but if I could also do that in a supervisory role and be able to pour back into people, that would be cool. So, and I feel like they've afforded me the opportunity to do that, even in the role that I'm in now. Even though I don't have anything on my shoulders or nothing on my collar, I'm able to do that. So I think the guys, no matter what your role is in this agency or no matter what line of work you're in, you can do that regardless of what role you're in.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
I feel like K9s is one of those units at DPS that once guys get in, like, they don't usually leave. They stay there for a while. It's not one of those high turnover spots that guys just come for a few years for experience and then bounce. They stay there for a while.
It can be a career killer. So it could, I mean, they stay here and they die here, you know? I mean, and that's not to say that there's anything wrong with that. It's a great thing. 'Cause there's some agencies where, you know, you're in, especially, you know, whether it's K9, SWAT, you're there for 2 or 3 years and then you got to cycle out. So new guys can come in. There's positives and negatives with that. So, but to your point, there's guys that have promoted out of K9s and demoted themselves.
Yeah, wanted to go back. Yep.
Not even wanted, demoted themselves back.
I know.
Yeah,
I know the exact example.
More than one. Yeah, I think I know who
exactly.
you're talking about. But there's more than one, and that says something about our unit and what we have here. So it's awesome.
No.
Sweet. Well, here's the fun one. The one we've all been waiting for. It's a question that every one of our guests is waiting for.
Right.
And that is, give us a trooper tale is what we call it. So a funny, embarrassing story about your time here at DPS. Just something that you find interesting that everybody would probably get a good giggle out of.
Okay. I asked my wife about this, and I proposed her with a story, and she's like, "Man, you can't say that. You can't talk about that." Because I've got the whole, like, I left my gun in the back of my trunk after I left the jail, and then Tom shows up on a stop at the beginning of my career, and his word, "Where is it?" And at that
I
moment,
can hear him saying
I'm on a traffic stop, and where is it? And oh my gosh, I don't have my gun.
Oh man.
I've got that story.
Yeah.
But I feel like most of us do. So, all right.
Take a deep breath.
Man. All right. So this is somewhat recent. Every Monday we do dog training, and we go out to eat afterwards, go to lunch, and just kind of, hang out, BS, talk about training, whatever. And we go eat at a specific restaurant, and after we get done eating, my boss hands me paperwork that, hey, you got random drug tested, so you got to go down to 5th Avenue and Thomas and get your drug test done. No problem. Whatever. It's the umpteenth, 100th one that I've done throughout my career. It is what it is. I do feel like in canines we get a little bit more.
Oh, for sure.
It's random. Right.
Random.
Yeah.
We're not recording, so I know.
Right? Yeah. Air quotes. So I'm driving downtown to 5th Avenue and Thomas, and I got to go to the bathroom. Like a little bit.
Right.
Not bad, but I'm like, all right, I'm just going to go pee,
Right.
and then I'll go handle my business after I'm done.
Right.
Get down there and get checked in, and she's like, are you ready to go? I'm like, yeah. And I'm standing there, and they got blue water in the toilet. And I didn't know this, but if you got to go number 2, it's hard to go just number 1.
Yeah.
Figured that out like in real time right
Right.
there. And I'm standing there, and I'm like, this is not happening.
Right.
So I come back out a few minutes later, and I'm like, hey, I just got to drink some water. This girl's standing there, and what happened? I can't. Here's your empty cup back. I can't pee.
Right.
And let me drink some water. I'll go back there in a few minutes. So I drink some water. Next 10, 15 minutes, I'm watching guys come in and out.
Yeah.
And she's like, are you ready? I'm like, yeah, I think so. Like, I don't feel any different, but I'm like, all right, I'll go back in there and do it. I've never had a problem doing these.
Right.
Ever. And now I'm standing there and trying to go, and still not happening. And now all I can really think about is, I got to go to the bathroom.
Right.
Bad now. So I come back out and I hand her her empty cup, and she's like, what's the deal? And I'm like, listen, I got to go to the bathroom. She's like, well, go. I'm like, no.
Like,
I got to go number 2, lady. And she's like, well, you're really not supposed to do that in there, but just go ahead and do it, and you can pee, and just try not to contaminate the sample. And I'm like, but I can't flush afterwards, right? And she's like, well, no. And I go, well, it's not happening. Like, because you're going to go in there and look to make sure.
yeah.
Not happening.
I'm a grown
No,
man.
like
bro.
it's not happening.
Right.
And so she's like, well, what? It's Mother Nature. And I'm like, listen, I've been married for 16 years. My wife has never seen.
Right. Right.
And she goes, she hasn't? I'm like, no. Why? Under what circumstance would that happen? No.
Right.
And so she's like, all right, well, you're going to have to wait. But just so you know, you have 2 hours. And I'm like, well, here, let me just use another bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do my business, and then I'll come back in here and I'll pee for you. It's no big deal. And she goes, you can't do that. It's against policy. And I said, well, what policy is that? What does that even mean? It's against policy to let me use a civilian bathroom. Like, you have to have another bathroom. And she's like, no, we don't. We use these. And I'm like, all right, well, I don't know. Let me go to the bathroom. Let me handle my business, and then I'll come back in I'll pee in a cup for you, and I won't flush. And so she goes, well, no, you're going to have to just we can't do that. And I said, all right, well, how about this? Our headquarters building's just a few miles up the road. I'll go up the road. I'll handle my business. I'll come back. And she goes, no, you can't leave. It's considered a refusal, and we have to report it to your internal affairs.
Oh,
So now I feel like I'm getting held hostage.
You're gonna have
Like,
to take
I
an L
either
somewhere.
have to show this
Right.
woman
Right.
Yeah.
this deed,
Right.
or she won't let me leave, or I'm going to IA and I might
Yeah.
get fired. And I was like, this is how my career ends, really? Like,
Wow.
and she's thinking like, yeah, like you just can't pee. right? Like you're hiding something. Like,
Right.
I hear people say they can't pee all the time, right?
Right.
Like, listen, I'm not telling you a lie here. Like, I can't do one without the other. It's hard.
Right.
So,
Right.
long story short, I give it about another 30 minutes and able to calm my nerves and go pee in a cup for her. And that was that. No dirty pee test came back. I still got my job here. And I think she thought, oh, yeah, but she thought I was going to pee dirty or something. And
Right.
I don't know. I don't know if she thought I was lying, but I legitimately felt like I was being held hostage. It was horrible.
You basically were.
I know.
I mean-
I left and I called my boss and I called a couple guys that I knew. I'm like, you're never going to believe what just happened to me. You're never going to believe what just happened to me. Because over the years, I've got hundreds of stories that I can tell and have since forgotten. I will not forget that story. It was horrible.
That's hilarious.
Horrible.
That's something. You're about to have a biohazard right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got another story that's pretty funny, but that was the one that was kind of edgy that I figured I would.
I like it.
My wife
And it's
wasn't
not
sure what I would
nearly
tell
as
her. But-
edgy as.
Oh, I'm sure you've heard all kind.
If you've heard the first episode of our podcast.
Oh, well,
So yeah, there you have it.
I mean, if you want to give us another story, we're open to it. So
All right, so quickly.
I didn't take
you
much
sure?
convincing. Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, I will. I've
Go
got
ahead.
plenty. I do all kinds of dumb stuff all the time. So anyone that's worked around me for any period of time will tell you there's plenty of dumb Brandon moments. But when I first got to K9s, I'm obviously very nervous about doing
Right.
everything right, and I'm going through our patrol school, which is this. It's a pretty dynamic school. It's hard to pass. It's painful. It's a lot. It's one of the most difficult schools that our department puts on, supposedly, is what I'm told. But I'm in with my first dog, and we're in a classroom briefing about what we're going to do that day. And we have door poppers. So I've got a button on my belt that will open up the rear passenger side door of my Tahoe and let the dog out in an event that he needs to get out for some reason during a situation. We're done briefing in the class, and this is like week 1, and I've got Pete there, my first dog, and I go out to find my rear right door of my patrol car is open. And I quietly walk over to the car, and I am panicked.
Right.
And I look inside the kennel and no dog. And so now all the guys are going out to their trucks to get their suits on or get whatever the equipment they need to get ready to go out. And I'm frantically walking around this field, quietly, Pete, come here, Pete, trying to be discreet about what's just happened. And I'm looking around, and now I'm yelling. A few minutes go by, and now I'm yelling, Pete, here, Pete, here. And what's going on? And people are asking me, what's going on? And I'm like, my dog's not in my truck. My door open. I guess I hit the button at some point, but I don't know where my dog is. And this goes on for several minutes. And then I look around, and I see a couple guys that are heads of the unit with smirks on their face, laughing. And they had Pete locked away in a kennel. They had taken him out of my truck, locked him away in a kennel. And my dog was okay. So
Well, that's good.
Gotta love being the new guy.
yeah, being the new guy, right? So on the second patrol school, when I got civil, I had to pay that forward.
Well, yeah.
So I got
Somebody's got their own trooper tail.
I got to do that to somebody else. So
There you go.
I afforded myself the opportunity to open some guy's door and take his dog out of his truck, put him away in a kennel, and watch him get panicked.
Yes.
So with the same, I even went back and checked the roof of my truck. Maybe he's in there and I just didn't see him the first time. Maybe this 70-pound dog is in there and he's somehow stuck to the roof of my truck.
Yes.
It was bad, and he did the exact same thing. He went back to his truck and just double checked. Maybe I missed him the first time. So it was
funny.
it was funny times. So
Good
we got
stuff.
plenty of pranks on each other, but
Good stuff.
it's fun.
Well, thank you for being here with us.
Yeah.
Thank you for agreeing
That
to
was
come on the show. It was a
Of
great
course.
time. To all of our listeners and our viewers who just see the logo of the podcast now, thank you for being here, joining us for this episode. On behalf of all of us here at DPS, thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for having me on.